The arrival for over 2 centuries, the galaxy had known peace. At least that's what the Galactic Council liked to say. Ships floated quietly across star systems. Trade moved freely. Disputes were handled with words, not weapons. And behind this peace stood the Council's Peacekeeper Corps, a mighty force made up of thousands of species, including a new member from a dangerous world, humans. At first, humans were seen as strange. Their planet, called Earth, was a death world, a place so wild and violent that most alien species couldn't survive there for even a day. But humans didn't just survive. They thrived. Still, they smiled. They spoke calmly. They followed orders, and that made the Council feel safe. The peacekeepers sent human squads to the edge systems, places full of chaos, pirates and smugglers. The humans handled it well. They didn't start fights, but they ended them fast when needed. Other species in the Corps respected them, but also feared them deep down. Then came the Starlace incident. It began on a small moon orbiting a gas giant called Terran 5. A native farming species, the Tavari, had accused the local council, guards, of stealing their food and forcing them to work extra shifts at the mines. Peacekeeper Command ignored the reports, but a small human team led by a quiet man named Logan was stationed nearby. When he and his team visited the moon, they saw the truth. Tavari children were starving. Workers had collapsed in the heat. The guards laughed and pushed them harder. Logan reported it. Command told him to stand down, not to interfere, but something inside the humans shifted. Logan's second in command, a tall woman named Lena, whispered something after they left the mines. "This isn't peace, it's a cage, with pretty lights." They knew what came next. Disobeying orders would get them discharged or worse, but they also knew the Tavari couldn't wait. That night the human team returned. They moved like ghosts through the shadows, not to kill, but to free. They unlocked prison gates, disabled power systems, and stood in front of stunned guards with weapons raised. "Back away," Logan said. "This ends now." No blood was spilled. Not that night, but when the Council heard, they reacted with fire. They branded the humans as traitors. Other peacekeeper units were ordered to capture or eliminate the team. They called it restoring order. That was their mistake. Humans didn't run. Hook for Part 2. Preview, as words spread across space, other human. Units began to question their orders. What started as one squad's defiance would soon become a galaxy-wide awakening, and the true face of peace would shatter under the boots of Deathworlders. The first flame, the Council's official message was clear. Human Unit 7A has violated Peacekeeper Protocol. They are to be disarmed and detained immediately. But the message spread beyond just the command centers. It reached human units on distant moons aboard deep space patrols and even those stationed near core worlds. Many of them paused. Then, they asked a simple question. Why? When answers didn't come, suspicions grew. In a mining colony on Galvan's Rim, a human lieutenant named Mark saw the bulletin on his holoscreen. His team had just helped a local village rebuild after a sandstorm. They had given supplies, repaired power grids, and shared stories with the villagers. Now those same peacekeeper orders demanded he arrest fellow humans, who had saved lives. Mark walked into his team's barracks. His voice was calm, but heavy. "They're turning on us," he said. "Not because we broke peace, but because we exposed their lie." No one argued. They all knew. In the weeks that followed, unit after unit quietly cut contact with Peacekeeper Command. They stopped answering calls. They left their stations, disappeared into space, or joined with local populations. Some sent messages to Logan's squad, hidden now deep in the wild belts. One message read, "You didn't start a fire, Logan. You lit a torch." Meanwhile, the Council grew nervous. Without human squads, outer colonies began to fall into chaos. Pirate groups they thought were gone reappeared. Some of the alien peacekeepers hesitated. Many of them had grown used to having humans lead difficult missions. They weren't ready to handle real threats without them, so the Council changed tactics. They sent in reclaimers, special forces made of elite warriors from multiple species. Their goal, capture Logan and make an example of him. On the abandoned moon of Tendra 6, the Reclaimers found their target. Logan, Lena, and 3 others were hiding in a forgotten comms outpost. The Reclaimers landed with speed and firepower. They expected resistance. What they didn't expect was a trap. The outpost exploded before they even stepped inside. Hidden cameras had spotted the dropship hours before. The humans had moved, fast, and quiet, leaving behind a message etched into metal. You taught us peace. We returned the lesson. No one died that day, but the message was louder than 1,000 guns. Back at the council, high-ranking members finally admitted the truth to each other. We didn't bring humans into the peacekeepers to keep peace. We brought them to scare others into obeying, and now, the council couldn't scare anyone, not even their own allies. The galaxy watched in silence as more human squads vanished from their posts, but they weren't hiding. They were preparing. From asteroid bases, icy moons, broken shipyards, they were building something new, not a rebellion, a reckoning. Shadows in the dark. The council tried to keep it quiet. They didn't want the other species to know that the humans had gone dark, or that their most dangerous soldiers had stopped following orders. But rumors spread faster than light. Whispers moved through markets and mining stations. Ships carried quiet talk from one moon to the next. The humans are no longer peacekeepers. They're planning something. One squad stopped a planetary blockade by themselves. They saved a village the council abandoned. They didn't ask permission. In hidden corners of the galaxy, many began to wonder, were the humans really the threat? Or had they been the only ones who cared? Meanwhile, Logan and his squad moved between stars, never staying long. But they were not alone anymore. Human engineers from the old colonies joined them. Smugglers and ex-soldiers came too. They brought weapons, food, and ships. But most importantly, they brought stories, proof of what the council had done. On one ice-covered world, Logan met a quiet, gray-skinned alien named Mara. Her people, the Valari, had lost half their population during a trade dispute with the council. Mara had begged for peacekeeper aid, but none came. We thought you were like them, she said, staring into the campfire. We were, Logan replied, but not anymore. The humans began calling themselves something new. The Punishers, not because they wanted war, but because someone had to bring justice to a galaxy where peace had become a mask for cruelty. While the council panicked in silence, the humans moved. They struck without warning, but not to destroy. Their missions were always focused. Freeing prisoners from illegal work camps, destroying black sites hidden by the council, broadcasting secret files that revealed council corruption. They became ghosts. They appeared, acted, vanished. The council tried to fight back, but every time they sent a fleet, it was too late. The humans were gone. The files were leaked. The prisoners were free. On the planet Verta 9, a full battalion of peacekeepers surrounded an old factory the Punishers were using as a base. They charged in with hover tanks and gun drones, but found nothing inside but a single data pad. On it was a message. You taught us silence. Now listen. Then the factory exploded, the blast echoing across the valley. The people of Verta 9 cheered. They had been starving under council taxes. The humans had left behind food, medicine, and water generators. From that moment, Verta 9 became known as the first free world. Other planets followed. Some local leaders secretly contacted the Punishers. Others declared independence. The council. Ships stopped traveling alone. Even some non-human peacekeepers began leaving their posts, refusing to fight the humans. The council met in secret chambers, arguing in circles. They were supposed to help us control chaos. Now they are the chaos, but deep down, they knew the truth. They had created this storm, and now the storm was coming. Words like chains, the council was losing control, not through battles, not through fleets, through truth. More planets were listening to the Punishers. More systems stopped trusting Council broadcasts. And worst of all, for the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt fear. But the Council had one more weapon, one they believed humans couldn't fight: propaganda. They launched a full campaign. Every holoscreen, every transmission station, every news drone played the same story. The humans betrayed the galaxy. They turned on peace. They are violent, unstable, unfit for trust. Videos were edited to show humans in the middle of chaos. Their faces were shown next to burning buildings, even if those buildings were destroyed by Council drones. The Council used every trick: cutscenes, false interviews, faked records. They even claimed that Earth had ordered the rebellion to seize power, but it didn't work as they hoped, because the humans didn't hide. Instead, Logan and Lena went live. On a hacked broadcast that reached over half the galaxy, Logan stood in plainclothes. His voice was calm. His words were simple. They call us traitors, but we only broke one rule. We refused to let people suffer. They told us to turn our backs on starving children. We said no. They told us to ignore corruption. We said no. If that makes us criminals, then let every good soul break the law. Behind him were not just humans. Valari, Draenens, Malari, even former peacekeepers stood with them. Lena added quietly, "We didn't abandon peace. We remembered what it was supposed to mean." That message changed everything. In just 3 days, 5 outer planets raised the Punisher's signal on their towers. Small lights in the dark, growing brighter. Some Council allies started questioning their orders. Even the Council's own citizens began demanding answers. In panic, the Council made another move. They released a fabricated confession video of a captured human captain claiming the Punisher's plan to take over the galaxy. But a day later, that same captain sent a live message. He wasn't captured. He was standing on the Council's own capital moon, having hacked their main comm tower. And with one button press, he released files showing secret prisons, hidden weapons programs, and the Council's real plan: to use the peacekeepers as tools of control, not peace. The Council had no words left, and so they turned to what they understood best: violence. They gathered a massive fleet, over 200 ships led by High Admiral Trevis, a war hero from the early conquest years. His orders were simple: destroy the Punishers. Crush the rebellion, erase the memory of resistance. But there was one problem: he didn't know where the Punishers were. Because Deathworlders don't fight fair, they don't stand in the open. They wait, and when they strike, they never miss. The heart of the beast. The Council fleet moved like a tidal wave, huge, slow, and deadly. Hundreds of ships, all armed and ready, searched for the Punishers, but they didn't realize they were being watched. High above them, in hidden orbits, and deep shadow fields, Punisher scouts observed every move. They mapped jump routes, fuel stops, patrol rotations. Nothing was left unseen. Logan stood before a holographic table surrounded by his closest team. "This fleet isn't just for us," he said, pointing to the map. "It's to scare the rest of the galaxy, a show of force." Lena crossed her arms. "Then we take the stage." They didn't plan to face the entire fleet. They aimed for the command spine, the central station where fleet movements were coordinated. It floated just above the Council's core world, Sealer Prime, huge, protected, and thought to be untouchable. But Deathworlders don't care about untouchable. They care about making a point. Using cloaked transports and gravity slingshots, the Punishers approached the command station in complete silence. At the same time, fake signals were sent across 3 other sectors, making the fleet scatter, chasing ghosts. Logan's team landed on the station's underbelly, attaching silently to a cargo port. They moved in low gravity, cutting through bulkheads with laser precision. Inside the station, no alarms went off, until it was far too late. In just 12 minutes, the Punishers had taken control of the main operations deck. The few guards were stunned and tied up. No one was killed. They weren't here to conquer. They were here to reveal. Lena plugged a data drive into the central console. Within seconds, Secured files began broadcasting across open comms, proof that the Council planned false flag attacks to justify military action. Hidden logs of peace negotiations backed by threats and blackmail. Lists of systems silenced through force. The entire station's network became a beacon of truth. Across the galaxy, screens flickered, then played the raw recordings. People saw the Council's lies with their own eyes. Back on the station, a door hissed open. Council Admiral Trevis stood there, shock on his face. "You," he growled. "Do you know what you've done?" Logan didn't move. "Yes," he said. "We've shown them who you really are." Trevis drew his sidearm, but a Punisher sniper already had him in sights from the rafters. "No more speeches," Lena said. "Time's up." They left him alive, but stripped him of his command codes and broadcast him begging for backup. It was all recorded. By the time the Council fleet returned to the station, the Punishers were long gone. The damage was done. Sailor Prime's skies lit up with protest signals. Riots broke out, not with violence but with truth. Former peacekeepers dropped their badges. Small worlds declared independence. Even some alien generals spoke publicly. We did not sign up to serve tyrants. The Council still held power. But their grip had cracked and everyone knew what was coming. Earth answers. The Council was bleeding. Their fleet was scattered. Their lies were exposed. Their stations, once symbols of control, now flickered with uncertainty. But in one corner of space, far beyond the usual jump lanes, a signal pulsed through the void. A signal that hadn't been used in decades. It came from Earth. The Punishers picked it up first. Inside a deep space relay ship, Lena stared at the monitor. The code was old, very old. A military sequence used only in final emergencies. No message, just one line of text. For Punisher's command, stand by for Earth directive. Logan was silent for a long time. He'd never seen a directive like this before. They rerouted power, cleared channels, and waited. Then, the screen lit up. A woman appeared. She wore no uniform, but her voice held command. Behind her, the Earth flag stood tall. "I am Commander Rayla of Earth's Last Defense Council," she began. "We've watched. We've waited. We gave the galaxy every chance to make peace." She paused, then continued, her tone harder. "But you, the Punishers, showed us what the Council truly became. Not protectors, not leaders, tyrants." Her eyes locked forward as if looking through every screen. "Earth stands with you now. You will not fight alone." Behind her, the camera pulled back. Rows of ships. Not old cruisers, not stealth scouts, warships. Earth's real strength, hidden for generations, was now ready. And they were coming. Lena whispered, "They've been waiting for this." Logan nodded. "We all have." Within days, Earth's fleet moved. Massive, dark gray vessels shaped like blades of thunder. They didn't enter the Council's space quietly. They entered like a storm. People on Council worlds looked to the sky and saw something they didn't believe still existed. Earth's power, untouched by treaties or control. But Earth didn't come to conquer. They came to finish what the Punishers had started. Together, Earth forces and Punisher squads moved fast. They freed 3 systems in a single week, disabling Council outposts with no civilian deaths. They jammed weapons, froze communications, then dropped supplies and food on the ground. And always they left one message. This is not war. This is justice. The Council, now trapped and fractured, called for help, but no one answered. Former allies were silent. Other species were watching carefully. Many of them had suffered too. Many wondered if maybe Earth was right. Back at Punisher Command, Logan stood on a balcony as Earth's flagship, the Horizon's End, floated above the moon base. He looked at Lena. "It's time to speak to them, not just to fight, but to tell them what comes next." She nodded. "Let's end it the right way." The new law. The galaxy held its breath. War had not arrived as many feared. Earth's fleet had not burned worlds. The Punishers hadn't demanded control. Instead, they dismantled weapons, unlocked prisons, and rebuilt towns the Council had long ignored. But still, everyone waited. Would this end in peace, or in fire? Logan stood at the center of the broadcast chamber inside the Horizon's End, Earth's flagship. He wore simple armor, no medals, no ranks, just a face the galaxy now knew. Lena stood beside him. Behind them, a dozen others, Punishers, Earth officers, and even non-human allies stood together shoulder to shoulder. The cameras blinked green. They were live. Logan's voice was clear and firm. We were peacekeepers. We followed orders. We believed in the dream of unity. But that dream was twisted. Peace became control. Silence was forced. Justice was sold. He took a slow breath and continued. We didn't rise to conquer. We rose because no one else would. We are Deathworlders, and that means something. It means we know struggle. We know pain. But we also know how to protect. How to fight not for power, but for those who can't. He looked directly at the main camera. The Council is broken, but we will not replace it with another empire. We offer something different, a new code. He held up a simple metal tablet. On it were 10 principles. No slavery, no forced silence, no starvation by tax, no threats disguised as peace. Freedom of movement, truth in governance, aid without interest, protection without control, voice for every species, and peace without fear. These are not demands. These are offers. You want peace? Stand with us. Across the galaxy, that signal was received by billions. It played in spaceports, slums, cities, and starships. Even inside the crumbling halls of the Council, where old leaders sat with blank faces. Some laughed, but others stood up and walked out, choosing hope over power. In the days that followed, a shift began. 27 systems signed the new code, then 50, then over 100. They didn't call it an empire. They called it the Free Accord. The Punishers didn't rule it. They guarded it. Earth's fleet stayed, but not as masters, as protectors. Their ships were stationed only on worlds that asked for help. Their weapons remained quiet. The Council faded into history. Some of its leaders were tried. Some vanished. Some asked for mercy, and were given it, because the new peace didn't need revenge. It needed strength with restraint. Logan visited Verta 9, the first free world. Children ran up to him laughing, not because he was a hero, because he was safe. Lena stood beside a market stand, smiling for the first time in months. Mara, the gray-skinned Valari, had joined the Accord Council. Her voice helped shape laws that would protect generations. And Earth? It returned to quiet skies, but every Punisher knew, if darkness ever rose again, if lies returned, they would answer. Because once, the galaxy called them peacekeepers, then Punishers. Now, they were something more.